Hello and welcome everyone to episode 50 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week for 50 weeks now.
We did it.
We did it. 50, that's a pretty monumental thing to reach for most podcasts, I want to say. So
I've never been on a podcast consistently, but let alone one that has ran for 50 weeks. And just sort of serendipitously, this will be coming out on YouTube at least. Like, it's our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, I absolutely did not plan that one. Granted, we missed a few weeks here and there just because of life and holidays.
Some movies.
Yeah, I watched some movies, but hey, we still 1 year and 50 episodes of One Piece at a time. So thanks for the support. And in case you're new here, I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good, of course. I'm the English letterer for manga like Dragon Ball Super, which just came back, Kaiju number 8, which is getting an anime in 2024, and some various, Naruto spinoff, which is been kind of great so far. Oh, nice. I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that, but it is just kind of like Kakashi and Guy kind of screwing around on vacation.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great stuff. You know what? It's cozy.
Nice.
Oh, I did want to mention, just running the numbers, we are a little less than a quarter of the way through the manga here after a year. And that to me was just kind of like, wow.
Yeah. Almost at a quarter.
1,070 chapters out of the manga right now, so divided by 4, but that's like 260 something, 267, something like that.
An indication of how many episodes we're going to have.
yeah, exactly. So like this whole project is, we knew from the outset it was going to take like a little over 4 years at this pace, but to sort of be like almost a quarter of the way through that, I'm just like, dear God.
Yeah.
we did it.
And we even slowed down a bit because of the movies, which, hey, that kind of, I was shocked when the movie stuff popped into this for the SBS, which we'll get to, but I had a good laugh.
I was a little mad.
Oh, really?
just because it reminded me of that stupid movie.
Oh, right. Well, we'll get to that one. Oh, goodness. But, well, let's get into the fun of this because this is quite the chapter with 231, Bellamy the Hyena. And we like to talk about chaos a lot on One Piece, about how things just are utterly insane. Take, for example, this forest where all of a sudden we got human-sized mantises that can cut down trees.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I like the sort of, you see on the first page of the chapter where it's just like Luffy and Chopper, they're like sort of barely dodging and barely getting by, and then you just turn the page and it's you see like in the foreground just the tree just getting cut straight in two.
Right, and I thought it was just a normal sized mantis at first until it stood in the stump, and you're like, oh god, it actually is their size. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, and then I love the reveal. I forgot about this on the next page too, where you got the South Bird, and then Chopper's like, oh, it's giving the orders to the bugs.
And he's just that smirk, like this thing is evil.
It's a prick.
And they got giant ladybugs coming down that Usopp initially thought they're dung balls from a dung beetle, which honestly, I'm honestly surprised they're not that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, they're just ladybugs. Okay.
Also, I love this stupid panel of Zoro fighting the grasshopper and giving it a bump on the head.
Yeah, he's using the back of the blade. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting weirdly competitive.
He does look weirdly competitive, and Robin just whatever. She's just, I'm not part of this.
Completely. Yeah.
And then we got the dumb pun of like a giant slug showing up. So get some salt. Sanji, do a somersault kick. Like, oh.
I really wonder what that pun was in Japanese, but I think that's a good. They struck gold there.
No, they did. Whoever thought of that, kudos. That's good.
Yeah.
Of course, Luffy wants to fight the bugs, but Chopper's like, no, don't do that. We got pretty fireflies. We got cockroaches, which hell no. And then
and pigs.
And pigs, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what a fun, weird, chaotic way to start this chapter. And then we switch over to Bellamy already claiming the gold from Cricket.
Yeah, Cricket's he's looking a little beat up and bloody. at this point.
Yeah, and they're just Cricket says you're not worthy to touch it, and Sarkis is like, does this make us worthy? And he does like this weird like somersault chop cut.
Yeah, it was a little difficult for me to understand, like where was he and is he in relative to the other characters? To I think it's Masira there.
Yeah, and poor Masira taking that chop right to the back. Ugh.
Yeah,
that's just not great. And then you got these like they're just the worst part is they're taunting him the entire time. It's like we're stronger than you, so we're worthy of the treasure.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's a little bit of a hard beatdown to watch because you know that they're completely unmatched at this point.
Mm-hmm. They just can't quite get there, and good on Shoujo trying to use the sound to try to take him down, but we find out that Bellamy's devil fruit is the boing boing fruit, which why is it the boing boing fruit, not the spring fruit?
It's as silly sounding as it is, and as silly sounding as a lot of devil fruits are, it is, you know, right off the bat, you sort of get to see its destructive force.
Yeah, he has his spring snipe that he does, and just poor Shoujo, just that's a rough looking hit and just getting sent straight into the ocean. It's like it's a pretty bad beatdown. Like you see why what's his name got just taken out by Bellamy.
You can definitely like Bellamy is strong, like no doubt. You know, like there is he is, I guess, a little more bark than bite, but we are finally seeing, you know, like, okay, he has something other than just like pointing and laughing at people.
Right. He has some bite to go along with it. And
yeah,
amongst all these people, he is absolutely the strongest on Jaya.
Certainly.
So, but it's his ideals and how Cricket's forced to remember, like there's times with the monkeys and finding the things and the excitement of finding little bits of proof here and there. And all the while, Bellamy told him to grow up.
Feeling a little bad for Cricket. Like, because this is all he had.
Right. It's just got this young pup telling him to grow up and just like screw this guy.
Yeah.
And I love this quote from Cricket: "A spineless whelp that beats people's dreams out of them has no right to call himself a pirate." Which,
yeah,
as we'll learn from other pirates in this manga, yeah, Bellamy, as far as I'm aware, Bellamy's the outlier.
Yeah, actually, it is. This is sort of some great thematic stuff here, where we're getting into, you know, like what does it mean to kind of be a pirate in this day and age, and how Bellamy's ideals are, you know, they kind of shape the person that he is, and how that kind of butts up against kind of literally everybody else, even the villains.
Yeah, there's other villains who have massive dreams that they attempt to go for, and Bellamy's just like, nah, screw it, I'm just gonna cause chaos. I mean, I guess it's fitting that he's Bellamy the hyena, because I guess it's a kind of a Joker worldview.
This to me feels like Oda just kind of giving a big middle finger to cynicism.
Yeah.
It's just like all of you just like, oh, no, you know, all of you people who like say like, nothing matters. Like, no, this is even doesn't matter if you're good or bad. Everything matters. Yeah,
it matters.
Yeah.
You got to fight for that thing. And even like, yeah. And we get, of course, that enrages Bellamy, but we don't see the effects of that because we go back to the crew who are reconnoitering in the middle of the forest and just being like, well, it just didn't work out because the bugs wouldn't let us get near us. And all of a sudden the South Bird appears above them and just taunting us like, ha, you can't catch me. Yep. And all of a sudden Robin's arms come out of it and captures it.
I forgot how just like nonchalantly this whole sequence ended. Just like, it's just kind of like, oh, right.
Yeah, she can do
Robin
that.
Robin is the best.
She just needs to see him. Exactly. This is why Robin's the best.
And that is something that I think will ring true throughout like this whole little next bit of the story. Mm-hmm. But just the ways in which Robin is just sort of casually like, oh yeah,
I got this. It's fine.
She just fits into the crew so well.
She fits that calm demeanor, because like Zoro's kind of calm, but he gets wild. Nami's kind of calm, but she gets wild and shouty. Yeah. I can't think of a time where Robin loses her cool. Certainly
not up to this point. She's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I got this. It's fine. Just that calm in the storm. With the South Bird in hand, they return back to Cricket to find Shoujo in bad shape. They cut the poor Going Merry in half.
Right, just got like beheaded.
Oh God.
So was that just like, we didn't get a clear shot of it, but I think, was that Bellamy like knocking Shoujo through it? Because he's like
maybe
floating in the ocean.
I mean, I thought he got knocked through the house, but I guess he could have gone through it. He might also just be one of his bounces that knocked it off like that.
It's a little hard to tell, but
yeah.
Either way, it's the poor Mary was just minding her own business.
Just can't. Ugh. And they find, of course, they find all of them. They're helping all of them up, and he's just like, no, forget it. We couldn't stop them, but we can still fix the ship in time and get you to the Sky Island.
Man, Cricket dedicated to the cause.
Yeah, he's just like that. And they're like, no, you died for 10 years trying to get that gold. It's like, no, that's our problem. Because if we get the entire Monkey Mountain Forest to get to work, we can still get the ship ready in time. So you have to get ready to sail. And Zoro notices the Bellamy symbol. Of course, they painted on nearby.
Of course, because they're just rowdy teenagers.
And immediately Zoro and Luffy start talking to each other. He's like, need help? Nope, I got it.
No, I got it. You're right.
And he gets confirmation. He's like, okay, I just follow the coast and then I'll come back to that town, right? Yeah. Okay, I'll be back by sunrise.
Whoa. Just instantly, like.
Yeah, that shaded look on Luffy's face, the seriousness of it, the cracking of the knuckles, like, oh, poor
If
Bellamy.
you help Luffy and the Straw Hats, like, they are ride or die for you.
Yeah, they are. Oh, God. He is, he is taking out people for less. And, man, what a great way to build up hype for the next chapter.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's so good. So, let's get to that next chapter. 232, the 100 Million Berry Man.
I love that chapter title so much.
Mm-hmm. It's so much fun. And we begin with a man peeing off a dock.
Yeah.
A drunk man
Thanks
peeing
be
off a
to the
dock.
gods of grog.
Yes. Oh, every drop I drank is coming out. What a waste. What a waste. What a waste. And then, hey, the messenger bird showed up and drops it off near the dock. And he's like, oh, I wonder what's happening in the world. Oh, they're wanted posters. Oh, it's the weaklings from earlier. Oh, crap. Like he's counting up the numbers.
I love that slow, just drunk sort of the brain cells bringing it all together. Like, tens, hundreds, tens, thousands. Like, yeah, it can't be. I've had too much to drink.
Yeah. This is the reason. It's like, oh no. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yep.
And then we get this little reminder from Nami. He's like, you got 3 hours to get the gold back and get back, or otherwise we'll miss our chance at the Sky Island. And again, no thoughts from Luffy. He's always quiet, but he gets those memories of Nami's words, Chopper talking about how he dives constantly to try to get it, how he's like, we failed and we couldn't stop them. And it's just pissing him off more and more as time goes on.
He's got that steam coming out of his nose.
Mm-hmm.
He is ready.
Yeah. We go back to Mock Town where, of course, Bellamy's crew is living it up in the bar where they beat. Funny, they called this place a crap hole and they go back to but it's the same bar they beat up Luffy in because you can see the broken window. So even though they made fun of it, they went back to this bar.
It's their fault.
Yeah. And they're just, of course, living it up, laughing against it, talking up Bellamy. It's like, all those fools. And then the drunk shows up. He's like, hey, Bellamy, you better hide. They're going to kill you.
Yeah, I love that look from Bellamy. He's like, who's going to kill me?
And just the sheer panic on everybody's face when they realize that
somebody drops a glass.
Yeah. The fact that both of them are worth more than Bellamy.
Yep. Ooh, yeah, we made fun of the wrong guys, he says.
Oh, God, do you think they remember my face? We got to go.
Yeah, I love one guy saying, like, I've never met anybody with 100 million berries. Like,
interesting line from Mocktown.
Yeah, I guess at this point in the Grand Line, that's just, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's pretty massive. And of course, Bellamy's talking it up is just like, look at you fools. He always has an explanation. It's like, they printed up their own fake wanted posters to impress fools like you so they get afraid and don't challenge them. Just like you guys. So
the skeptics.
He's puny. It's
Cope.
disgusting what you did. Yeah. It's like
Cope.
exactly. And they buy it because they just want to believe it. It's like,
Yep.
right. I never heard of the Straw Hat Gang. There's nothing about him in the newspapers, which, God, that fits in so well.
Yeah.
Like, of course there's nothing.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah. Like,
Cover up.
And they're just like
man.
calming themselves like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. We'll just laugh again. And then Luffy made it. Where are you, Bellamy? And they're all
Everybody
just like,
spits out their drinks.
oh, God. Bellamy, though, still cocky, buying what he himself is putting down. He springs up to meet Luffy at the top of this tower.
I love that shot of just like Luffy at the top of the tower where Bellamy's still kind of on the ground. Like it's a really, that's a framing I feel like we haven't seen for Bellamy yet, because he's always he's always on top. He's always the one having the last laugh, and here we have him framed under Luffy.
Right, and then I love how he can't allow that almost, so he uses his
he springs above him
to be above him, which is just a cool dynamic shot, but also just like, of course we got this showdown. It's like, hey, those guys are Luffy's just like, those guys are my friends. I'm taking the gold back, and he just laughs at him. Can you even fight? Do you know how to throw a punch? What can a coward like you do to me? And the drunk is still holding us like, yeah, that's him. That is definitely him.
he is going through it. He's freaking out.
And even Sarkis is like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Does he look dangerous? 30 billion would be too much.
Yeah. And I love how sort of like how simple it is. Like, and that is just kind of going to show the kind of person that Luffy is, where he's not really asking for anything sort of grandiose. He's just like, give me the gold back.
Yeah. He doesn't even want to beat him up. He just like, it's still not worth his time, but he wants the gold back, and he will fight to get that gold back. Bellamy shows off his power, takes off the top of the tower, and goes to hit Luffy. Luffy immediately jumps away, lands, and I love how
they're all kind of scared of him.
yeah, they're all like running away. I love that little bit. Like, oh God, he's about to land here. And I think Bellamy has the idea that he's the one that caused Luffy to fall like that, because he just says that wouldn't kill you. It was like, Luffy landed just fine.
Right.
We get his spring hopper, which he used against Roshio the Executioner. This is what killed him, all the bouncing around. So we finally get an explanation for that scene.
Yeah, because God, I forgot. Even though that was just a few chapters ago, I had already forgotten that this got set up. Like, this even these little things have so many like intricate moving parts to them.
It's a good payoff, just showing what this is all about. And yeah, he's just, again, the taunting. It's like, you're just like that old man and those monkeys. You believe the lies of that fool ancestor. The age of dreaming is over. You're a disgrace to all pirates. And all Luffy says is like, oh, you want to see me land a punch? And he finally launches towards him, and we get that page turn, and the most satisfying punch ever. The kabam, the imprint of Luffy's fist into Bellamy's face, the cracking of the wood. He's out. Just one punch.
Straight down. Oh my God.
It is satisfying here. It is satisfying in the manga. It is.
And I mean, Oda's really good at that, of just like, he sets up just like somebody with the most punchable face and just like the worst attitude. And you all know, like, the second Luffy, he's going to go back to town and he's going to go set things straight. You're like, yeah, okay, this is it. And then it just, like, I don't know, all of Bellamy spins like an entire page, just like, everything you believe in, nothing matters. And it's just,
yeah. And at no point, like, even like when I first watched this in the anime, I was like, Bellamy is weaker. We know he's weaker. He can't.
Yes.
He stands no chance. But to see that punch happen, it is so satisfying.
He just like
finally
shut him up.
Exactly. Shut the loudmouth up. And you know what the even better part is? Luffy never revealed that he had a devil fruit.
Yeah, no, he didn't do anything.
Yeah, he never had to use his devil fruit to take out Bellamy.
He really didn't, like, it was just that one punch. Like, he dodged a couple attacks, stood still, and punched him.
Yeah, he just followed him along, and that was it. And that is so satisfying that he was able to do that.
It's one of my favorite punches, maybe in the whole manga.
Yeah,
like,
it is up good. There. It's definitely a top 3 easily, maybe top 1. Again, there's one later that I really like, just because it hits you. It hits you in a different way.
Yeah,
when it
does,
happens.
for sure. But this is a good one.
Oh yeah, it is
for sure.
I love it. Yeah, we do have an SBS. Nothing too major. Basically, Oda pointing out his own mistake that nobody actually wrote in about. So,
and I love that he's just like, it would have been too hard to fix. So whatever.
Yeah, it happens.
I respect it.
There's too many panels where it happens.
Like,
so
Oda is a meticulous storyteller, but he is not immune to fault.
Right. Well, time for chapter 233, The World's Greatest Power. Now, that is interesting.
That is interesting.
That's a fun little title there. But we start with the aftermath, where
the giant crater.
That crater where, Bellamy's in. Everybody just watching in stunned silence. The blood dripping off Luffy's fist.
Oh, man. And then just like the imprint of Luffy's fist onto Bellamy's face.
He broke that man's skull.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Sarkis still can't believe it.
He's just like, no, quit fooling around, Bellamy.
You're the heavyweight rookie with the 55 million berry bounty. And, of course, Fate's like, hey, have Luffy's poster in your face.
Yeah.
And just the poster in his face scares him.
Oh, that's so good.
I love that. And I mean, it ties into power levels, and granted, we'll get to points where the power levels don't matter. Like, it's not to say that a 55 million bounty couldn't beat 100 million.
Yeah,
but Bellamy definitely wasn't it, because it's that classic Dragon Ball Frieza saga problem. It's like, they're lower power level. Obviously, I can take them, and like, what?
He's the Frieza soldiers in this situation. It's the exact same thing. It's just like, he couldn't possibly. Oh no, or even Raditz, like a power level of 5.
Yeah, it's. I think it works out better here because it
really does. Yeah,
it's not like a hard and fast thing. It's not concrete at all. It's just like how much the government feels he's a threat, and Bellamy took that as how strong they are.
Yes. It feels like this is sort of, like the kind of, and One Piece, the fan base, we still have power scalers, so it is still a problem, but it is definitely, I feel like Oda kind of being like, don't take these things like complete gospel.
Right. And I mean, we had our own issues when it was Nami versus Miss Double Sunday.
Double Finger?
Double Finger, thank you. I'm sorry, I mixed them up.
Yeah, because there are still situations, pretty much every shonen manga, I feel like you will have a character fighting another character they probably don't have any business matching up to, but like that's just sort of the way the story turned out. Mm-hmm. So like, just don't. Yeah, they can be a little bit bothersome, but don't sweat about that stuff.
Don't take it too seriously. Like, for whatever reason, like Usopp versus Chu and the way he took out Chu, that works for me. Even though Chu is obviously stronger than Usopp, but you got the smarts. And I think if Nami was using her smarts more for that fight, we would have been.
Yeah, because it was more of a gag fight, and that just kind of made it all the more deflating. But
Yep. So Luffy demands the gold once again. The drunk is like, "Ha, told you." Kind of, well, not laughing, but still like, see?
Yeah.
And all the other pirates run.
It's so wild just seeing like a bunch of normal people just like scared out of their wits of Luffy.
Mm-hmm. It is.
All he wanted was the gold.
Yeah.
He just wanted Cricket's stuff back.
That's all. He's not threatening any of you. But I love this little extra scene we have here with Nami asking Zoro, why didn't you go with them? It's like,
yeah.
She's like, didn't you want revenge? It's like, beat up. Those guys weren't worth it. It's heartbreaking when you're left with only pity after a fight. And that kind of sums it up. It's like, wow, these guys are just pathetic. And that's all you really need to know about Bellamy and his crew. Just kind of
pretty
pathetic.
Much. I do love they transitioned back to Mocktown. Luffy's got the gold. I love like Bellamy's just still there.
Yeah, he's still knocked out. Nobody's helped him out. Luffy's just happy, like, got it. And Sarkis is shouting out to him. He's like, hey, I'm still here. Come at me. Nobody like you is going to beat us. Where do you think you're going? Luffy says where, and he kind of like looks like he's about to make a fist, which immediately makes Sarkis like, oh God.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, to the sky.
He's pointing up. I love just how simple and nonchalant it is. Oh, it's so good.
They are not worth his time. And then we got just a random aside all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It caught me so off guard where they're like the previous afternoon on an island on the Grand Line. I'm like, what? And we get this whole gag about Buggy and his crew.
Working the mines.
Yeah, thinking it was a treasure island and it actually being a mining island, so they got it wrong.
Yep.
It's like, okay, that was weird. Like, I guess I guess we haven't checked up on Buggy since he got to the Grand Line, but they're even mentioning like the Straw Hats are now worth 100 million and 60 million a piece. Like they're bona fide Grand Line pirates now. So
yeah,
it's like, hey, that's fine. Let them grow. Because when we beat them, that'll make our reputations.
Yep. You keep telling yourself that, buddy.
Yeah. And Alvina's still with them.
Yeah, she's like, well, I love this. Like, did you even know? Like, do you know where he is? How are you going to catch Luffy? And then just somebody pops up. I know where you can find him.
Yeah, who's this? And you remember how you're talking about Ace showing up in the anime? Apparently they shifted this scene around because I didn't realize that was canon. I forgot that was canon.
I didn't realize it was canon either. I was just that one time I was like, oh, I'll have the anime version of this. Like, wait, Ace is here. Like, oh, okay, this is a real scene, but they moved it.
Yeah, just made it earlier for some reason. But yeah, Ace shows up on Buggy's ship. And he just says, nice to meet you, and starts eating with them and does his whole fall asleep while eating thing.
Yeah. Well, then we have the drop here. Is like, oh, that's, oh God, which one is it again?
Kabaji.
Kabaji, yeah. Or he's like, that's Firefist Ace, the 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates.
And they're like, I think it's Moji who says, now's our chance. If we capture him, our reputations will skyrocket. And Buggy's immediately like, no, don't do that. No, that's a bad idea. We must
Not
never
that they could ever kill Ace.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you never harass a member of Whitebeard's crew because Whitebeard is the only, like, we only heard about Whitebeard before, but we didn't know what his reputation was. It was just somebody that Ace respected. Now we see why he respects him, because he's the only man who's ever fought Gold Roger and lived. He is the world's most powerful living pirate and the one closest to the One Piece.
Now that is a lot of build up.
Ooh, that is a way to just set it as like, this is the strength that we're dealing with now.
Definitely a key piece of information. Buggy going on to say that Whitebeard never forgives anyone who kills one of his men, and that is just the kind of man that he is.
Mm-hmm. Also, which makes sense when we've heard before the reason Ace is after Blackbeard is because he he killed somebody, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that's why he said he was after it.
Yeah,
I might be conflating it, but it's a minor thing, but that's why Ace is after him.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember which pieces of foreshadowing we've gotten already.
Right. And we actually we learned from Buggy that a long time ago, we actually met Whitebeard.
It sounds like the kind of thing that he would make up, but he's not lying.
He's dead serious.
He's dead serious. That is a dead serious look.
Mm-hmm.
It's followed up, with some just more gag panels, but like,
of course.
Weirdly, Buggy, I don't think like everything he said in here is the truth.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's totally a party. It's like, oh, here's a ring of fire and that Ace makes. And Richie's like, go on, Richie, jump through. And like, oh, okay, poor Richie.
I kind of maybe on the anime team side here, where I want to see more antics of Ace hanging out with Buggy.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. But it's time to move once again to the sacred land Marijoa. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure.
I think so. Or like Marijoa. I don't know.
Showa, yeah, something like that. And some men are talking about the movements of Shanks. We're actually hearing about Shanks again. He said, though he hasn't made any move himself, but he has sent out envoys. But they point out that any contact between Whitebeard and Shanks would be catastrophic.
I love how, so like at this point, all we know about Whitebeard is that he's he's the world's most powerful living pirate, the closest one to the One Piece. And then a couple of pages later, if there's any contact between him and Shanks, it would be catastrophic.
Right.
Because I think sort of the scale we're like that might be our first introduction of like Shanks is a really big deal.
I think so, because Shanks just seemed to be a regular pirate that just, the way he acted, it was just so natural and like, he's probably, he's strong, obviously, the way he faced down that sea monster, but Luffy punches it out. as soon as he leaves. And so, he's, a big deal, but not like, who knows how huge. Turns out, huge. I still don't have a concept of how huge Shanks is comparatively. I have no clue. But we get introduced to the 5 elders, the supreme leaders of the world government.
As far as I know, well, I guess it's complicated. But yeah, obviously these guys are hugely important. I was about to call them the top of the top, but I guess it's more complicated than that. But like they're a big deal.
Yeah, they just sound like a big deal. Who knows if there's more to it or anything like that. But yeah, and their big discussion is we need to find a new warlord of the sea to replace Crocodile.
Yep, that's consequences coming to bite you.
Yeah. So they basically were like, we got to maintain the 3 great powers in order to do this. So they have summoned the 7 warlords of the sea, and they don't know how many will come because, well, they are pirates. So who knows how much they'll actually pay attention.
Listen. Yeah.
And I love this. It's like, what a nuisance Crocodile made of himself, but we can't afford to ignore the one who toppled him, this Monkey D. Luffy fellow.
And that's sort of the whole thing with like the warlord system, because they are just kind of like government sanctioned pirates. So they're like, it is a relationship built out of convenience. And I kind of I love the perspective of like, Crocodile, he made a nuisance of himself. Oh, that little rascal.
Yeah, he screwed up.
He screwed up and he's making it a pain for everybody else.
Right. When he was trying to take over the Grand Line, and what a nuisance.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, I feel like that says a lot about just sort of, I mean, and really just Crocodile and what we've seen in the 7 warlords in general is they just let him go,
right?
Do whatever. Not a whole lot of consequences or jurisdiction going on there.
And up to this point, we've only met 2 of the warlords of the sea. We've gotten Mihawk and we've gotten Crocodile. It's time for 2 more: Don Quixote, Don Flamingo, and Bartholomew Kuma.
These are, oh god, I love both of these characters and their designs.
Their designs are great.
You can tell it's the first time Oda's drawing them, because they do change a little bit. Like Doflamingo, like, I don't know, like his face is more round and his the proportions just feel a little bit off compared to what they would look like a little bit later. But
he's basically Elton John.
Yeah. And perspective is kind of at play here, but they're both massive.
Yeah, they are.
Compared to all of the sort of Navy guys in the background greeting them all lined up. So it's, yeah, are you ready for some lore?
Yeah, you're right. Basically, that is what it comes down to. It's lore time, and let's just get right to it because it's funny because usually we see this stuff. I was expecting this kind of stuff after Alabasta. I forgot it was smack dab in the middle of Jaya. Yeah,
because it usually is. It usually is the sort of like in between arcs is when we get a lot of sort of the grander stuff. But it is interesting here how and it is just, it's like a complete swerve almost. Just
it is.
Like,
I'm sucked in. It's like almost all of a sudden just all these greater powers moving while Luffy is just trying to go to Sky Island for an adventure.
Yeah, I think this is sort of really the first big hint that the world of One Piece is a lot bigger than you might think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get to chapter 234. Please remember. And we're still in Marijoa, and we begin with one of these marine men choking out another marine man. Yeah. And he's like, it's not me. I can't control my own hands. And this old lady who says, hey, no time for practical jokes, Doflamingo. Cut it out. Be a good boy.
So she knows it's him.
Yeah, she knows it's him. She's the great advisor, Suru, Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters. Just this older lady. And the fact that she can command.
It's kind of enough to... Yeah, it's so casual. Like, it's just kind of like all right, knock it off.
Right. And it's fascinating because, one, you get this warlord who actually does kind of pay attention to her, has this ability. 2, we're getting introduced to a power, we don't usually get an indication of devil fruit right off the bat. At least I assume this is a devil fruit. He's wiggling his hands unless maybe he has strings that he can send out to do that sort of thing. I honestly don't know Doflamingo's full powers, but it does show how dangerous he is.
I did not think that they would show it this early. Certainly enough.
And you were talking about scaling before. My God, Kuma's huge.
Yeah, again, just like he's huge, and he's like his legs are like a third of his body.
Right. He is so top heavy, but he's just sitting quietly reading his Bible. Which is interesting.
You know what? That raises more questions than I think this podcast is ready for. So I'll just move on.
Right.
Just like, but yeah, he's just got a Bible and he's just reading it.
And he's like, oh, fine. We'll just get right down to business and end the meeting. He goes to get the one guy to stab the other guy.
Right. She's like, all right, okay, I'll stop. And just tries to get him to kill the other guy.
Right. And that's when Sengoku, also known as Buddha, the Admiral of the Fleet, Supreme Commander of the Navy, which, man, we're getting a lot of ranks tossed around here, but I know, I think Sengoku is like the top of the Navy, right?
Yes.
Okay. He is the head. And he's just like, hey, stop it. Did you come here to start a war? I love how he just says, I should at least greet you. Welcome, sea scum.
Yeah, God, that close-up of and that we get that formal sort of introduction box of Don Quixote Doflamingo with a former bounty of 340 million
I know.
berries.
Remember how we thought 100 million was a lot? And we just all of a sudden, Doflamingo over 3 times that amount. Kuma, almost 3 times that amount. My
296.
God.
Yeah. So, and again, former bounty. So, they're warlords. So they serve the government, so they're just like, they obviously, they don't have a bounty.
And Crocodile seems to have been the small fish of this whole thing. Cause he was he was 70 million?
Man tried to overthrow a country and he's a small fry.
Right. Whew. That is something else.
Yep.
But they do mention that there's no use waiting because 2 out of 6 is actually more than I expected. So, and all Doflamingo says is, I wasn't going to come, but business is booming on the island, but I was bored. So here I am. And apparently indicates something to you.
Yes. It's just, if you know, you know, if you know, you know, that's all I'll really say about that. But man, this whole sequence just has me like, Oda has already planned out so much about these characters. But that line isn't going to pay off for like 500 chapters. So
of course.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I do like Sengoku is like, oh, that's not welcome news. And there's nothing worse than pirates doing well. So.
He's right, though.
Right.
He's got a point.
And then, hey, we get a third warlord. It's time for Hawkeye to actually show up. And
he's back.
He doesn't actually show up that much. He is just here as an interested bystander because of the pirates that they'll be discussing. He's still curious about Luffy and his crew, which I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's all right.
Did we ever get Hawkeye's former bounty? I don't think so.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we did. But I'm very curious to compare it.
Yeah, I might have to look up after the show, like what all of the former bounties were before they all became warlords.
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, another guy shows up, also wants to be be a bystander, and he's just so calmly getting into this big meeting. And
so I thought out. I was like, I kind of forgot who this character was, and I'm like, wait, was this another warlord? But like, no, they're just like, who the devil are you?
Yeah, it actually does surprise all of them. He's like this tap dancing guy with a cane.
Yeah,
Bahak looks confused, and he's just like calmly like, hey, that's why I'm here. Since Crocodile's no longer a warlord of the sea, I thought you might be looking for someone to replace him. And that's when Suru, really knowing her stuff, this guy's name is Lafitte. Or Lafitte, I'm not sure. Apparently, he is a former sheriff from the West Blue, notorious for his brutality, and was subsequently banished.
I'll be honest, I remember almost nothing about this character.
Hey, that's fine. I didn't remember him until he showed up, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But all he says is, I want to recommend someone to be your new warlord. And that's when we shift to the Grand Line, where we see a envoy from Shanks delivering a letter to Whitebeard. His name's Rockstar, a newbie with a bounty of 94 million berries. So even this guy looks like whatever, has a bigger bounty than Bellamy. Better than Zoro, really.
I just joined the crew. That's just part of Shanks' crew. 94 million.
And they're just like, hey, ever heard the name Rockstar? Nope. And then
that's the person who says, I can't say that I have. That is will come up later. It's not just a random person. Yeah.
The thing is that design looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. So I'm like,
yeah, right. I know exactly who that is. It's just
like, I can't remember if I don't think we've seen it previously. So
No. Yeah. He's a new character. It's just completely like just in the background, unassuming, but no, yeah, I'm like, oh, that's that guy.
Yeah. Wow. I thought he looked familiar, but I can't remember much else at the moment. But hey, Whitebeard gets this letter from Shanks, and he's insulted. He's like, he sent me a letter? What's he? Who does he think he is?
I love that he's so offended over a letter.
I know. And Rockstar is like, that was an important letter from the boss. Are you crazy? That was Shanks. Yeah, I'm Whitebeard.
It's such a raw response. And then just like you have the nurse who's like, Captain, you've had enough grog for today. He's like, shut up. We haven't even seen his face yet. Or we see sort of it at the bottom of the page. He's like, shut up. I'll decide when I've had enough.
Rockstar's like, it's an important message. Like, I have a pretty good idea what it's about. It's Blackbeard and Ace. You tell Shanks that he has something to tell me. Come here in person with good booze. And then we get this 2-page spread where, my God, so many giant people. I think he's bigger than Kuma.
Yeah. Up to this point, I think Whitebeard is probably just the largest man we've ever seen.
Without being a giant.
Yeah, without being a giant. Yeah, no, like he is technically, quote unquote, a normal human.
And I just surrounded by these nurses.
Like, it seems like he's kind of sick. But
yeah,
like,
he's hooked up to all these things.
He's drinking.
And let's be honest, like, he might be hooked up to a bunch of stuff, but he is still imposing as hell.
Yeah, no, just God, the size and the scale of this character. I love Whitebeard so much.
I get his actual name, Edward Newgate.
Yep.
And
the strongest man in the world.
That is cool.
I will point out, good as time as any, I guess, is a little bit of a translation issue, but just sort of how language works. Because he's called Whitebeard, but he doesn't have a beard.
Right. It always confused me until I looked it up and realized that in Japanese, beard can refer to mustaches as well.
Yeah. The word in Japanese is called shirohige, and hige is just facial hair. So, but like, obviously they're modeled after like the real life. There's a real pirate Blackbeard, and so here's the sort of like, here's the riff on that, but obviously calling him like White Stash doesn't really hit the same.
No, and
yeah,
I know Edward Newgate. That's a real pirate.
I think at least the Newgate part is.
Yes, I think so. I don't know which one, but yeah, it's still, what an introduction.
Yeah, no, I forgot that this was here. Like, oh my goodness, all of this happening in like the last 2 chapters. Like, dear God.
We flip the page and there's Shanks.
Yeah, there he is, and he's just like, I love the casualness of all this of Rockstar kind of like, oh God, I'm so sorry, you know.
Yeah, he's like, I've never been humiliated like this. Give me another chance. And he's like, whatever you're thinking, forget it. You did your job. Come back. Which goes to show how good of a captain.
Yeah, I love Rockstar's like, how can I face you like this, Shanks? So come back while you still have a face.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just like, you survived. Good job.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, it's like, well, what do we do now? Well, prepare to set sail. It's time for us to go face to face. And they're like, well, won't they try to stop the government? Try to stop us? Maybe, but we're going anyway. It's like, let's go. It's like, man, make sure we have some good booze, and hey, we're going for a fight. They are just prepared to take on the government just so they can meet up with Whitebeard.
Right? Yeah. I love the framing of this whole thing of like, we are kind of dealing with these two forces, Whitebeard and Shanks, of like, they kind of seem kind of like quite literally larger than life in the case of Whitebeard, but the 5 elders sort of are, you know, they're like, we can't have these 2 characters beat, it would be catastrophic. And here we kind of see like, all right, negotiations are broken down.
Yeah,
we're gonna go talk face to face.
We gotta talk face to face, and hey, we're gonna bring some booze. Like, it just seems like a jovial visit for the most part.
Exactly. Yeah.
But can't let these 2 talk. And again, the fact that Shanks is such a big deal when he still only has 1 arm anymore.
Yeah, no, like this is sort of the beginning of like, wait, how big of a deal is Shanks? Just sort of like, you didn't know.
Nope.
And the I feel like the way Oda just sort of like, you sort of get more and more and more, and you're just like, oh.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And then we get the reveal of who Lafitte is putting forth. A man by the name of Teach, the captain of his pirate gang. And they're like, never heard of him. It was like, the other pirates won't like it if we point out nobody. He's like, oh, I get it. But we have some plans to not become a nobody anymore, because we'll make you remember the Blackbeard pirates. And that's when that drop.
Oh boy.
I love how it starts with Teach and it's like, no, it's Blackbeard.
It sort of toys with your expectations a little bit because you know that there's a real life pirate like Blackbeard, probably one of the most famous real life pirates. And here you have introducing, oh, okay, so we have a Whitebeard here in the story, but it's like, no, we have Blackbeard too.
Right. And then we go back to Jaya, where everybody's still talking about Bellamy getting beat and like talking up Luffy, just like, how is this happening? And Sarkis is like just still upset and happens to bump into somebody. It's like, hey, don't be hogging the road, I'll clobber you. And then he just gets face planted into the ground by
poor Sarkis, man.
Yeah. By the pie guy from before.
Yeah, from earlier.
He's like, shut up. It just takes him out, no problem. It's like, I don't deal with small fry. I'm looking for a head worth 100 million. I've got a reputation to make. And that's when we get the reveal of this 2-page spread of these giant men that we've been seeing around massive. Jaya.
Yeah.
And they happen to be part of his crew. Because it turns out the person that Ace was looking for was the guy that Luffy almost got into a fight with. Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach.
Yes. And I love, again, sort of just like the patience of building up that reveal. And how do I want to put this? Like the introduction, his first scene with Luffy, like the way that they're kind of like, they act the same but are opposites. I think you could already kind of get your gears turning a little bit, and where Oda might be going with that I'm speaking is like a lot of that stuff we still don't know, but now knowing this is the guy Ace was looking for, and sort of the framing of like, okay, he's kind of just like Luffy, but opposite, I think makes for some really, really interesting theories.
Yeah,
it's like it's all coming together.
I'm so curious, but we get names. We get Champ Jesus Burgess, the helmsman, which is the wrestler guy challenging everybody. Supersonic Van Ogre, who was the sharpshooter that shot the birds down before they got to Mocktown. Yeah. And then the Grim Reaper Doc Q, who was the guy who gave Luffy the apple. And their whole thing is that it's about luck and fate. Yep. Which also pretty interesting in that whole thought process.
Yeah, Doc Q's like, a man's no better than his luck, which I guess that ties into how we first saw him.
But man, what a great reveal to finally see like who this Blackbeard is, because as we were talking about before we started the podcast, we've been getting murmurs of him since Drum Island, because
he was the one that chased off. It's just wild, and that's kind of like then Ace kind of showed up after all the shenanigans had happened, and we sort of, God, there's so many moving parts to the story that have absolutely nothing to do with Luffy and the Straw Hats right now.
The only way it kind of connects to Luffy is that Luffy put these things in motion, one, by taking out Crocodile, so they have to do something with that. And then because his reputation went up because of that, now Blackbeard seems to want to use Luffy in order to get his reputation up to become the next warlord of the sea.
Yeah, it feels like we are starting to see the consequences of beating Crocodile. Mm-hmm. And the consequences don't have a whole lot to do with Luffy and the gang right now, but it really is like sort of seeing a wider and wider view of the world that we haven't gotten yet.
It's also the idea that maybe Luffy's goal is, like, maybe he'll probably end up fighting more of these warlords as time goes on. But just because he beats one doesn't mean that's it. There's now only 6. Then there's only 5. Then there's only 4.
Yeah.
Don't just keep replacing them, which is...
Yeah, it is a constant, like... It is a system where there is a hole that they have to fill.
Yeah. It's a job position, and it will be filled.
Yeah, and I guess you would think, like, in maybe any other, like a typical shonen manga or a typical story, where, like, you bring up, like, a group of... I guess bad guys or antagonists, you would think, all right, so we're going to have to go through them one by one. But that's kind of not really what they end up doing with them. And really, I think that goes for all of the different sort of like factions and sub-factions within One Piece in general, is that they all kind of operate on their own outside of the worldview of the main characters. And I think that is some of like the best bits of One Piece world building, is just... Yeah. All of the little moving parts, and everybody kind of has their own lives to live outside of the main focus of the story.
Yeah. And speaking of that wider world, SBS. Oh, we got a
This
juicy
one blew my mind.
Right.
Because
I remember us, like when Nami was reading the paper and bringing up, the world is sure is in turmoil. Now there was another coup d'etat on Vera. I'm like, I wonder if Vera ever shows up again. And then I completely forgot when it actually did, when she was reading the logbook.
Yeah.
From
Nolan.
Nolan. And it's like, because SBS is asking, where is Vera? And Oda just goes, well, that was very shrewd of you to notice. Vera was a thriving town back in Nolan's day 400 years ago, but presently, because of the many revolutions that have happened there, it has become a dangerous place. So instead of asking what's going on in Vera, maybe one should ask what's going on in the world. And I believe you'll soon begin to understand it's a small nation on the Grand Line, smaller than Alabasta. Which,
freaking Oda,
what the hell's up with Vera?
Yeah, right. And hey, like, these two mentions of Vera were like 120 chapters apart, both just kind of weird, like offhand lines.
mentions. Yeah,
it's just that is the level of detail that we're dealing with here. Just like, oh my god.
And I also love the next SBS question because it solidified the choice that we made to watch the movies, because we got this question saying, hey, I saw the One Piece movie Chopper's Kingdom on the Island of Strange Animals. It was so good. The hell? I was surprised.
Wrong. Incorrect.
And I was surprised to see you in Soccer King of Dreams, the short feature that was shown with it. Do you really look like that? And he's like, yes.
He's got like soccer ball pigtails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was really, it's just really like, wow, that was serendipitous to have that show up.
No, seriously. Well, hey, like if we hadn't covered the movies, that SBS question wouldn't make me so mad. I'd be like, I got no idea what they're talking about. But now I have context, and the context is that movie sucks.
Oh, goodness. Well, it's time for the final chapter of this set, 235, The Knock-Up Stream.
Woo!
They're all just waiting for Luffy. The sun is up. He's 46 minutes late, or otherwise they'll miss their chance. So they're like, the gold must be weighing him down. Well, maybe he got beaten up. It's like, no. And finally they hear him call out. He's like, hey, and I did it. Look at this. And he shows off that he got a Hercules beetle.
Of course. Yep. That's why he was late. He could have put the whole plan in jeopardy.
He really could, just for that beetle. But I will say that page turn makes my heart like sing. Oh, look at the Mary. That's the best it's looked in ages.
Yeah, they've really pulled it off. It kind of reminds me of like getting like a new robot in a mecha anime, where you're just like, oh, it's the upgrade reveal. But now it's not like, here's the going Mary, and it's got wings, and it's got like a little like rooster cap.
Yeah, it's a rooster goat now.
Like, on the one hand, the Going Merry is like this like awful amalgamation of like repairs and modifications, but that kind of just makes it just like all the more adorable.
But it's also like, I don't see a lot of the damage that we had up to this point. It actually looks pretty good.
It's doing a good job. Is that a little like, it's got like half of an egg under the neck? Is that what that is?
I think it's just like a frill,
like,
or are you talking about the red part?
No, I guess because I don't know. I thought I saw the rooster sort of design, and I was like, is that the little like rounded spiky bit? I was like, is that supposed to be like half of an egg? I
don't think so. I think it was. I interpreted it as like the frill of the chicken's neck, but
yeah. I guess that makes more sense.
It's all right. No big deal. Anyway, Luffy gives back the gold, and he's like, Cricket's just like, get aboard. There's no time. You don't want to miss your chance. All right. He's like, hey, don't thank me, thank those two. And he's like, hey, thanks, you can have my Hercules. Really? You're the best.
I love that they're just sort of like, they really want it. They really are all monkeys.
Mm-hmm. And he jumps on board. Everybody's ready to go. And before they leave, Cricket just goes, Monkey Mountain Allied Force, don't mess up. Whatever happens, give it your all for these guys. And that friendship.
Yeah, I forgot. Like, I don't know. Like, Cricket is so much more of a memorable character to me this time around for whatever reason. Just sort of the goodbye speech, that he says, nobody's ever proved that El Dorado or Skypiea doesn't exist. People may laugh and say they're silly legends. Well, let them laugh. That's what makes a great adventure. And just that speech, just the way that he's sending off Luffy and the gang, that's just, I don't know. it gets me right in the feels.
It doesn't matter in the grand scheme as far as anybody knows, but hey, it's a big adventure, and that's the big thing.
Don't think about the part where you might die from this, but
right. And then we see Blackbeard's ship, which it's a giant raft. What the hell?
Yeah, it's just 4 giant pieces of logs
with cannons in them, and they're just sitting on there like, what the heck is up with this?
Yeah, it is no frills. No frills is the word.
I guess that's the best way to put it. It is basic as you can get.
Yeah. Wow. It's just basic but huge.
They know they're heading for the Sky Islands, so they're like, all right, we got to overtake them before they get there. So
I don't remember how this plays out at all, but it is interesting. Like Blackbeard's after Luffy. Like he's straight up just like, I'm trying to beat him to sort of increase my reputation.
And I have no indication of how strong Blackbeard is at this point. Like, he took out Sarkis, but whatever.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
not a high bar.
No, not really at this point. So we return back to Luffy and the monkeys, and they're just trying to find the way to the knock-up stream, and Luffy's just having fun as they're sailing along because the chained-up Southbird, he's laughing at the fact that the Southbird can't not look south, so it keeps messing with him.
I didn't notice that it was chained up. That's so funny.
And eventually it's like, I love like Chopper's here to interpret it. It's like, I'm going to look in a different direction and mess you guys up. And it tries to turn north, and it's just like, nope.
It just gives him anxiety.
It's so fun.
Physically just cannot look anywhere but south.
Just them messing with the bird is funny, but but it is a nice sense of relief. You got all these big motions happening in the world. You got the stress of getting back the gold in time. And Luffy's just like, no sense in worrying. Just relax a little. And they like the ship's just leaning to the side. It's like, okay.
Yeah, it is kind of like Luffy's presence is just, it calms everybody down. It makes everybody
somehow.
Just the antics. It just sort of has a way of reducing stress.
Mm-hmm. 3 hours later, they come across the Emperor Cloud. It actually showed up early. It's supposed to be around 11 o'clock, but it's only 10 o'clock, and they're not quite there yet. So they need to find the knock-up stream. So they're desperately just using that echolocation and trying to find it.
I love this part of the chapters where like things start to get really chaotic really fast.
Oh yeah, because the water is getting rougher. The log pose is definitely pointing towards that Imperio Cloud. Everything seems to be stirring up just the way they want it, but it's just the roughest of seas. And the idea that they're going to do is that they're going to actually tow the Mary into the whirlpool.
We're just going to yeet it right in there.
Right. And that's where we end, where them, like this massive whirlpool. It's like, all right, if you can make it to the center, you should be fine. And Nami's freaking out. Chopper, surprisingly not scared. He's just imagining the idea of them getting launched up. Of course, Sanji's saying, I'll protect you and Nami and Robin. Robin actually kind of surprised just how big the maelstrom is. Usopp panicking.
And that is a really impressive spread, by the way.
Yeah, it is. There's so many lines there. And Luffy's just laughing it up. Sky Island, here we come.
Wow. What an episode.
I am so happy that this is where we ended for our 50th episode.
This could not have been a better episode 50.
Yeah, because according to most sources, the next chapter is technically the last of the Jaya arc. To me, this is the end. Let's be honest. The next one is probably just going to be them writing it up and hoping to land on the Sky Island.
Yeah. But man, we are there. Like,
yeah, we are basically in the next arc now.
Yeah, that is, there's been, God, I forgot how much I liked Jaya. Like, it is sort of a setup kind of transitionary breather arc, but there is kind of like,
it's an expansion of the world that you just didn't expect from such a small island.
Yeah, and it still manages to have like its own kind of emotional arc to it. You know, you sort of, you really get invested in Cricket and the monkey guys, and always seeing Bellamy just completely take an L it's just wonderful. So like I feel like it isn't just like moving things along. That's like,
yeah, that was a thing.
It reminds me of Rogue Town in that sense of like it is just sort of a small thing, but a lot happens and a lot of really important stuff happens.
Yeah,
So there's no wasted space.
Oda knows how to do some setup, and there's still adventure elements of like looking around Mocktown, the search for the Southbird and the insanity of that. Like there's some fun things there just in Giant itself, and then all the extra stuff that we got from the world government. Just the more you see of those structures of the government, the Marines, just all these factions. It's like, my God.
One Piece has politics now.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah. It has political factions and sort of, again, I love all of that talk of like, we can't let these two characters meet. It would be really bad. Oh God, they're meeting. Oh, like everybody kind of has their own motivations in seeing those kind of clash in different ways, and that we will continue to see them all kind of clash in different combinations. It's really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah. It'll be fun to see. If we stick to our current rate, of course, we'll have a few movies in there as we go along as well. So we won't quite be at 500 by the time we get to another year or another 50 episodes. But we'll be damn close. And that's weird to think about how much what we'll be at by that point.
I will say, I guess if this is how we're sort of ringing in the new year of One Piece at a time, we will be covering, it seems like, the entirety of like my favorite arc in the entire series this year. So,
oh, hell yeah.
That is, I'm most excited for that, probably.
Oh, I'm right there with you. We got two very good arcs ahead of us.
Yes. That said, I'm also really excited to reevaluate Skypiea, because it is.
I've only seen it through the anime, so I'm quite curious how the manga takes it.
Yeah, I've actually only seen it through the anime as well, and I'm not as down on it as some people are. It seems like it's kind of lower on some folks' tiers, but like I liked it fine. I'm pretty neutral about it, so I'm ready to see.
I really enjoyed it in the anime, so I have a feeling I'm probably going to like it more here, just because it's
it seems like the problems that people have with it aren't as bad in the manga. And I'm ready to see sort of the ideal version of it.
It's still going to be a while yet, but I am so excited for us to get to the stuff that I don't know, because it'll just feel so different to be at this point. I could all of a sudden start theorizing openly and being like, what's going to happen? And you'll be like, oh, you have to see.
Yep. Oh, yep.
But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 231 to 235 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. I guess by the time this comes out, look out for me. I will probably be playing the demo for One Piece Odyssey by the time here, as that comes out on the 10th, I think, of January.
Wow, that is so.
It's really soon.
Why does everything One Piece related recently kind of affect the revolve around the podcast? We got the shirt in the new movie. We got the release of the game right around our anniversary.
Yeah. Like it's all things. One Piece is always making moves.
Yeah, that's
what
for
can
sure.
I say?
It'll be interesting to see when the Netflix One Piece live action thing comes out.
Oh, that'll. I mean, we're probably past all of the stuff that they could possibly cover.
Yeah, I think it's only covering East Blue stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
So we theoretically could talk about that. Like we maybe doing like an overall thoughts episode if we wanted to.
I would be tempted.
Yeah, because I know Oda still has a ways to go. We're at least 5 years away from him being done with the manga. Easily. Yeah. So a lot of fun stuff coming up, and if you'd like to help us out even more, support us and allow us to keep doing this, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 236 to 240 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take 2023 one piece at a time.
So you want the gold back, huh? Because old man Cricket's your friend. Wake up! He's nothing but a decrepit fool who spends all his time chasing after a 400-year-old lie. But that's probably what you like about him, right? You like to call yourselves pirates, but you know nothing. There's no city of gold, no island in the sky, just oceans and ships and the men who sail them.
You asked if I know how to throw a punch.
Just finish him so we can drink, Bellamy. Watching you beat him senseless has made me thirsty. So long, Straw Hat!